My son canceled my invitation to his wedding party. He didn't know that I own the luxury hotel chain. The white envelope had been sitting there on the dining room table for 3 days. I looked at it every morning while I drank my coffee. But I didn't dare touch it. It was thick, elegant, with golden letters that shone when the sunlight hit them. Mrs. Elena Castillo and guest. It said, "Not dear Mom, not for Elena, with love," as if I were a stranger. My name is Elena. I am 62 years old, and I live alone in this big house, too big for one person. Matthew, my son, is getting married next Saturday. It should be the happiest day of my life. Instead, I feel like someone has slapped me in the face. The house is very quiet. Before, when Matthew lived here, there was always noise, music, television, the phone ringing, friends coming and going. Now I only hear my footsteps and the tick-tock of the living room clock. I sat in the kitchen with my coffee cup. Outside, the garden looked beautiful. I had planted those roses when Matthew was little. He helped me water them every day after school. Now the roses are still there, but he is not. The phone rang. I almost dropped my cup from the fright. "Hello? Mrs. Castillo? This is Carmen Vega from the Hotel Emperador." My heart raced. I knew that hotel very well. "Yes, this is me. Ma'am, I'm sorry to bother you. Your son Matthew is organizing his wedding at our hotel, and, well, he asked us to remove your name from the guest list." My breath caught. I set the cup on the table with trembling hands. "Excuse me?" "Yes, ma'am. Your son was very clear. He said it had been an error to include you and that the wedding would be small, only for close family." Close family? I, who raised him alone after his father died. I, who worked day and night to give him everything he needed. I, who was his mother and his father for 30 years. I was not close family. "Thank you for letting me know," I managed to say. "Are you all right, ma'am? Your voice sounds—" "I'm fine, thank you." I hung up and stayed there sitting, looking at the phone. The tears came on their own, silent, like gentle rain. I didn't cry loudly. I no longer have the strength to cry loudly. I walked to the living room and sat on the big sofa where I used to read stories to Matthew when he was a child. Everything in this house has memories of him. The marks on the wall where I measured his height every year. The stains on the carpet from when he spilled grape juice. The school books I still keep in his room. The phone rang again. This time it was him. "Hello, Mom." "Hello, son." His voice sounded cold, as if he were talking to a stranger. "Did you receive the invitation?" "Yes." "Look, Mom, there was an error. The wedding is going to be very small. Just Isabella's family and some close friends. I didn't want you to feel obligated to come." Obligated. As if I were an annoying chore. "I understand," I said, although I didn't understand anything. "When am I going to meet Isabella?" "She's very busy with the wedding, and afterwards, we're going on our honeymoon for 3 months. Maybe when we get back." Maybe. My only son is getting married, and maybe he'll introduce me to his wife when they return from their honeymoon. "Where are you going?" "To Europe." Isabella always wanted to see France and Italy. Europe. I also wanted to see Europe when I was young, but I became a widow at 35, with a 12-year-old boy, and I had to work to get ahead. I sold my car to pay for his first year of university. I worked double shifts at the hotel to give him a good education. Europe remained in my dreams. "It sounds very nice," I told him. "Yes, we're very excited." "Well, Mom, I have to hang up. There's a lot to organize." "I love you, Matthew." There was a long pause. "I love you too, Mom. We'll see each other." And he hung up. I stayed with the phone in my hand, listening to the silence. "We'll see each other," he had said. But when we would see each other, I didn't know. I got up and went to my office. It's a small room at the back of the house, where I have my desk and my important papers. On the walls there are photos and awards that nobody sees, because nobody comes to visit me. I opened the bottom drawer and took out a brown folder. Inside are the documents that would change everything if Matthew saw them. The papers that prove I am Elena Castillo, owner of Castillo Luxury Hotels. My son doesn't know. Nobody knows, except my lawyer and my accountant. When my husband died, I got a job as a receptionist in a small hotel downtown. I worked during the day and studied at night to learn about the hotel business. Matthew did his homework alone while I cleaned rooms and attended to guests. 5 years later, when the hotel was going bankrupt, I asked for a loan and bought it. It was crazy. I was 40 years old, had a teenage son, and no experience as a businesswoman, but it worked out very well. Now I have 12 luxury hotels in the country and 2 abroad. My company is worth more than $200 million, and my son is going to get married at the Hotel Emperador, which is mine, without knowing it. I never told him the truth, because I wanted him to see me as a normal mother, not as a rich businesswoman. I wanted him to love me for who I am, not for my money. Now I wonder if it was a mistake. I closed the folder and stayed thinking. At what moment did I lose my son? When did I stop being important in his life? I remembered the last time we talked seriously. 6 months ago, he told me he had a girlfriend. I was happy. I wanted to meet her. I wanted to make dinner at home, to welcome her properly. But he said it was too soon. Too soon to meet his mother. But not too soon to marry her. The phone rang again. It was Miguel, my partner, and my best friend, the only one who knows the whole truth about me. Elena, how are you? For the first time all day, I told the truth. Bad, Miguel. Very bad. What happened? I told him everything. The invitation, the call from the hotel, the conversation with Matthew. Miguel listened without interrupting. Elena, he told me when I finished, you have to tell him the truth. What truth? That you're the owner of the hotels, that you've worked your whole life to give him the best, that you're not just Elena the mom, but Elena Castillo, the most successful businesswoman in the city. I can't, Miguel. If I tell him now, he'll think I want to buy his love. And if you don't tell him, are you going to let him get married thinking that his mother is just a lonely lady who doesn't matter? I don't know what to do. Elena, you built an empire. You raised a son alone. You are the strongest woman I know. Don't let anyone, not even your son, make you feel small. Miguel was right, but the pain was too great. My chest hurt. My soul hurt. Miguel, do you know what hurts me the most? What? That everything I did for him. Every hotel I bought, every business I closed, every trip I didn't take, every man I didn't meet because I was working, everything was for him. And now it turns out I'm not important enough to be at his wedding. Oh, Elena, do you know how many times I dreamed about his wedding? How many times I imagined helping him choose the place, meeting the bride, dancing the first waltz with him? It was my dream, Miguel, my only dream. You can still do something. What? Go to the hotel on the wedding day. It's yours, isn't it? You have the right to be there. I can't do that. It would be an intrusion. Elena, listen to me carefully. You are his mother. You spent 30 years raising him, educating him, loving him. You have the right to see him get married. We stayed quiet for a moment. Think about it, he told me. And remember who you are. You're not just Elena the rejected mom. You are Elena Castillo. After hanging up, I stayed in my office until very late. Outside it was already dark. The house felt even quieter, emptier. I went to the kitchen and heated up some canned soup. I ate standing up, looking through the window toward the garden, where nothing could be seen anymore. Everything was black, like my heart. Before going to bed, I passed by Matthew's room. I hadn't changed anything since he left. His bed was still there, with the blue bedspread we bought together when he turned 18. On the desk were his school books and some photos with his friends. On the wall, diplomas and soccer trophies. I sat on his bed and took the photo that was on his nightstand. It was of the two of us at his university graduation. Both of us smiling, hugging, happy. I was wearing my favorite blue blouse, and he his black graduation suit. "We did it, Mom," he had told me that day. "All your sacrifice was worth it." Now, 5 years later, my sacrifice wasn't worth even an invitation to his wedding. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake, thinking about everything, about my husband who died so young, about the difficult years when Matthew was small, about the nights working while he slept, about the mornings getting up early to prepare his breakfast before school. I remembered when he had pneumonia at 15. I stayed awake 3 nights in a row, taking care of him, taking him to the hospital, making sure he took his medicines. When he got better, he hugged me and said, "You're the best mom in the world." Where was that mother who was the best in the world now? Sunday passed slowly and sadly. I didn't leave the house. I didn't talk to anyone. I just walked through the empty rooms, remembering happy moments that now felt like stories from another person. Monday morning the phone rang early. It was Carmen from the hotel. "Mrs. Castillo, I'm sorry to bother you again. Could you come to the hotel this afternoon? There are some details about your son's event that I need to consult with you." "With me? Why?" "Well, since you are the groom's mother, I thought that—" "Carmen," I interrupted her, "my son doesn't want me to go to his wedding." "Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. It's just that, well, when I saw your last name on the canceled guest list, I thought it had been an error. Castillo is the same last name as the hotel owner." My heart stopped. "What?" "Yes, ma'am. The owner is also named Elena Castillo. Isn't that curious? The same name and last name as you." Carmen didn't know she was talking to the real Elena Castillo. To her, I was just another lady with the same name. "And do you know the owner?" I asked her. "Not personally. She's very reserved. She never comes to the hotel's social events. But they say she's a very successful and very intelligent woman. She built the entire hotel chain by herself, after becoming a widow very young." "What else do they say about her?" "That she's very generous. That she helps many needy families without anyone knowing. That she pays university scholarships for poor young people. That she's a great businesswoman, but also a great person. A great person who couldn't even get an invitation to her own son's wedding." "Carmen, I have a strange question. Tell me, is it possible for someone to use the hotel for an event without knowing who the owner is?" "Yes, of course. Many clients don't know who the proprietor is. To them it's just a luxury hotel where they can have their celebrations. Like Matthew. My son was going to get married in my hotel without knowing it was mine." "Thank you, Carmen. Are you coming this afternoon? There are some things I'd like to consult with you about the decoration and menu." "Carmen, I don't think I should get involved in my son's wedding if he doesn't want me there." "Mrs. Elena, let me tell you something. I've been organizing weddings at this hotel for 15 years. I've seen fighting families, parents and children who don't speak to each other, estranged siblings, but on the wedding day, things always work out. Always. Family love is stronger than any problem. I don't know if in my case. Come this afternoon. You don't have to make any decisions. Just come to know the details. Afterwards you decide what to do." I hung up and stayed thinking. Should I go to the hotel? Should I meddle in my son's wedding? I decided yes. After all, it was my hotel. I had the right to know what was happening on my own property. That afternoon I dressed in my most elegant gray suit and drove to the Hotel Emperador. It had been months since I'd been there. I always managed everything from my home office, by phone and email. The hotel looked beautiful. The garden flowers were perfect. The lobby shone like a mirror. Everything was impeccable. I felt proud. It was mine. I had built this. Carmen received me at the entrance. She was a young woman, very professional, with a warm smile. "Mrs. Castillo, what a pleasure to meet you in person." She didn't know how much she knew me. She took me to the room where the wedding would be. It was the most beautiful room in the hotel, with large windows overlooking the garden, crystal chandeliers, and ivory-colored walls. I had supervised every detail of that room's decoration. "What do you think?" Carmen asked me. "It's beautiful," I said. And it was true, but it hurt to imagine my son getting married there without me. Carmen showed me the tables, the flowers, the altar where Matthew would say "I do" to a woman I didn't know. Everything was perfect, elegant, expensive. "How many guests will there be?" I asked. 80 people. The bride has a large family, many cousins, uncles, friends from school and university. 80 people. 80 people who were important enough to be at my son's wedding. I was not. And from the groom's side? Very few. His boss from work, some friends, a cousin who lives in another city. His mom won't be coming. His mom won't be coming, as if it were my decision. Carmen showed me the menu they had chosen. It was the most expensive at the hotel: lobster, salmon, imported wines, 5-tier cake, everything the best. "Who's paying for this?" I asked. "The bride's family. Her father is a businessman. He has a lot of money. He wants his daughter to have the wedding of her dreams. Isabella's father could give her the wedding of her dreams. I, who had more money than him, couldn't even be there to see my son get married." "Carmen, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Do you have children?" "Yes, a 5-year-old girl." "Can you imagine not being at her wedding?" Carmen looked at me with sad eyes. "No, ma'am. It would be the worst thing that could happen to me. A mother should always be at her son's wedding." "That's what I think too." We stayed quiet for a moment. "Mrs. Elena," Carmen told me, "what happened between you and your son, if you don't mind me asking?" "I don't know," I admitted. "That's the truth. I don't know what I did wrong. I thought I had a good relationship with him. I worked my whole life to give him the best. I never denied him anything. And now it's as if I were a stranger. As if these 30 years hadn't existed." Carmen came closer and put her hand on my shoulder. "Do you know what I think? That your son is scared." "Scared of what?" "Of getting married. Men get weird when they're about to get married. They make decisions without thinking. Later they regret it." "Do you think so?" "I'm sure. I've seen many weddings, Mrs. Elena, and always, the groom looks for his mom at the most important moment. Always." I left the hotel with my heart a little lighter. Carmen was right. Matthew would look for me. On his wedding day he would look for me, and I wouldn't be there. That night, I called Miguel. "How did it go at the hotel?" "Good. Carmen is very good at her job. Everything is perfect for the wedding." "And what are you going to do?" "I don't know, Miguel. I'm very confused." "Elena, I'm going to tell you something you might not want to hear." "Tell me." "Your son is acting ungrateful. You gave him everything, and he's paying you back with contempt. That's not right. He's my son, Miguel. I love him. And that's exactly why you have to do something. You can't let him treat you like this. You have to claim your place in his life." "How?" "Go to the wedding. It's your hotel. It's your son. You have the right to be there." "I can't. It would be very awkward. For him, for the bride, for everyone." "And what about your comfort, your feelings?" Miguel was right, but I couldn't. I couldn't show up at the wedding without an invitation. It was humiliating. The days passed slowly. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Every day I woke up thinking, in 3 days my son gets married, in 2 days tomorrow. Friday night, I couldn't eat dinner. My stomach was closed. I sat in the living room, looking at photos of Matthew when he was a child, my beautiful baby who now didn't want to see me on the most important day of his life. At 11 at night, the phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Castile. This is Isabella Ramirez. My breath caught. It was her. The bride. The woman who was going to marry my son tomorrow. Hello, Isabella. Mama, I'm sorry to call so late. Could we talk? Of course. Tell me, could you come to my house right now? It's important. Very important. Is everything all right? Is Matthew okay? Yes, he's fine. But I need to talk to you. Please. It's about tomorrow's wedding. My heart raced. Had she changed her mind? Did she want me to go to the wedding? Where do you live? She gave me the address. She lived in an elegant neighborhood, near the hotel. I'm coming. I changed quickly, put on a navy blue dress, and drove to Isabella's house. It was almost midnight, but I didn't care. The house was nice, 2 stories, with a well-kept garden. Isabella opened the door before I knocked. She was a young woman, about 28 years old, pretty elegant. She looked a little like me when I was young. Thank you for coming, she told me. Please come in. We entered a living room decorated with very good taste. On the center table there was a tray with coffee and cookies. Would you like coffee? Yes, thank you. Isabella served 2 cups and sat across from me. She looked nervous, worried. Mrs. Elena, I don't know how to begin. Tell me calmly. There's no hurry. Matthew forbade me to call you. He told me that you and he had problems, and that it was better to keep you away from the wedding. He told you that? Yes, but I can't get married tomorrow knowing that his mother won't be there. It's not right. My eyes filled with tears. This girl who didn't know me was more concerned about me than my own son. Isabella, you don't have to do anything. I don't want to cause you problems with Matthew. Mrs. Elena, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. What happened between you two? Matthew has never wanted to tell me the complete story. He just says that you are very controlling, and that you always want to decide everything for him. Controlling. My son thought I was controlling because I worried about him. Isabella, I raised Matthew alone. His father died when he was 12 years old. For 18 years it was just him and me. Maybe I was too protective, too worried, but everything I did was out of love. That's what I imagined. And when did the problem start? About a year ago, when he moved to his own apartment. Suddenly, he started visiting me less, calling me less, and when he met you, he practically disappeared from my life. Did he tell you about me? Very little, just that he had a girlfriend, and that things were serious. He never invited me to meet you. He never brought you here for dinner. It was as if you were a secret. Isabella looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Elena, I have to confess something to you. What? I told Matthew many times that I wanted to meet you, but he always gave me excuses. He said you were very intense, that you would ask 1,000 questions, that you would want to have opinions about our relationship. And what did you think? That it was strange. I have a very good relationship with my mom. I didn't understand why he didn't want the 2 most important women in his life to meet each other. Am I important to him? Because lately I don't feel that way. Mrs. Elena, Matthew talks about you all the time. He tells stories from when he was a child, about how you took care of him when he was sick, about how you worked to give him a good education. I know he loves you. Then why doesn't he want me at his wedding? Isabella stayed quiet for a moment. Because he's afraid. Of what? That you won't accept me, that you'll think I'm not enough for him, that you'll try to separate us. I would never do that. I know that. But he doesn't. We stayed quiet, drinking our coffee. Isabella, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you want me to come to the wedding? Yes. Very much. A wedding isn't complete without the groom's mother. And if Matthew gets upset, he'll be upset at first, but then he'll be glad. I'm sure. I don't know. Mrs. Elena, let me tell you something. When I was little, my parents divorced. It was an ugly divorce, with many fights. At my first communion, my mom didn't invite my dad because they were fighting. To this day, every time I see the photos from that day, it hurts me not to see my dad there. Important family days should have the whole family, even if there are problems. Isabella was right. But I was still afraid. What do you propose I do? Come to the wedding. I'm going to talk to Matthew tomorrow morning. I'm going to tell him I invited you, because a mother should be at her son's wedding. And if he gets angry with you, let him get angry. It's our wedding day. He's not going to leave because of that. I laughed for the first time in days. You're brave. And so are you. That's why you raised a good man. Matthew is good, Mrs. Elena. He's just confused. Do you think he loves me? I'm sure of it. We said goodbye with a hug. Isabella was a good girl. She was going to take good care of my son. I arrived home around 1 in the morning. I was tired, but calmer. At least I knew Isabella wanted me there. I went to bed, but couldn't sleep. Tomorrow was my son's wedding. Should I go or not? At 6 in the morning, I got up and took a long shower. Then I had breakfast, slowly, looking through the window toward the garden where the roses I planted with Matthew so many years ago had bloomed. At 8 the phone rang. It was Isabella. Mrs. Elena, how did you wake up? Nervous. Did you already talk to Matthew? Yes. He got very upset at first. He yelled, told me how could I have thought to call you, but then he calmed down. And what did he decide? That if you want to come, you can come, but that you shouldn't talk to him until after the ceremony. My heart jumped with joy. Really? Yes. He said he doesn't want drama on his wedding day, so he prefers you to be there quietly rather than absent, and him feeling guilty later. It wasn't the most loving invitation in the world, but it was an invitation. Isabella, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Don't thank me. A family should be united in important moments. After hanging up, I ran to my closet. What was I going to wear? I had to be perfect. It was my only son's wedding. I chose a navy blue dress. Elegant, but not too flashy. I didn't want to overshadow the bride. I put on makeup carefully, styled my hair in a simple bun, and put on the pearl earrings that had belonged to my mother. At 4 in the afternoon, I arrived at the Hotel Emperador, my hotel. My son was going to get married in my hotel, and I was going to be there to see it. Carmen received me at the entrance. She looked surprised to see me. Mrs. Elena, what a pleasure. Are you coming after all? Yes. Isabella invited me. How nice. A wedding isn't the same without the groom's mother. Carmen accompanied me to the room. The first guests were already arriving. I recognized some of Matthew's friends from school, now turned into men with suits and ties. I also saw people I didn't know. I suppose Isabella's relatives. I sat in a chair in the back, near the wall. I didn't want to bother anyone. I just wanted to see my son get married. The room filled up, 80 people. As Carmen had said, whole families, elegant couples, well-dressed young people. Everyone was talking and laughing. I was alone in my chair, but I didn't care. I was there. That was all that mattered. At 5:30, soft music began to play. The guests fell silent and turned toward the room entrance. It was the moment. First the groomsmen entered, then the bridesmaids in pink dresses. They were all young and pretty, I suppose Isabella's friends. Then the priest entered, and then my heart stopped. There was Matthew, my son, my baby, the child I had raised alone, whom I had cared for when he was sick, whom I had helped with homework, whom I had hugged when he had nightmares. He looked so handsome. He wore a black tuxedo that fit him perfectly. His hair was well combed, his beard trimmed. He looked like a man, but I still saw the 12-year-old boy who cried in my arms the day his father died. He walked toward the altar with firm steps. His eyes searched among the guests, and for a moment, just for a moment, he looked at me. Our eyes met, and I smiled at him. He didn't return the smile, but he didn't look away immediately either. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. The music changed to the wedding march and Isabella appeared. She was beautiful. Her dress was white, with lace and a long train that seemed to float over the floor. Her hair was up with small flowers, and she wore a veil that reached her feet. She walked arm in arm with her father, an older man with a proud smile. When Isabella reached the altar, I saw how Matthew's face lit up. He looked at her with so much love, with so much tenderness, that my eyes filled with tears. That's how I had looked at his father on our wedding day, so many years ago. The ceremony began. The priest spoke of love, commitment, family. Every word reached my heart. When it came time for the vows, both Matthew and Isabella said beautiful words about their love, about their future together, about the family they wanted to form. Family. My grandson or granddaughter who would be born someday, and who might not know me. When the priest asked if there was anyone who opposed the wedding, there was an uncomfortable silence. Nobody spoke, of course, but Matthew looked at me again, as if he feared I was going to say something. I smiled to reassure him. I wasn't there to ruin his day. I was there because I loved him. "You may kiss the bride," said the priest. Matthew and Isabella kissed while everyone applauded. They were married. My son was married, and I had been able to see it. After the ceremony, the guests went out to the garden for cocktails. I stayed behind, not really knowing what to do. Isabella had told me that Matthew didn't want to talk to me until after the ceremony, but now that the ceremony was over, he was busy receiving congratulations, and I didn't dare approach. I went out to the garden and stayed near a fountain, watching the guests. Everyone seemed to know each other. There were groups of friends laughing and telling stories, families hugging and taking photos, couples dancing to the soft music playing through the speakers. I was alone, but I didn't feel bad. I had achieved what I wanted, to see my son get married. Everything else was secondary. "Mrs. Castillo?" I turned around. It was an older man, elegant, with gray hair and a kind smile. "Yes, that's me. I'm Roberto Ramirez, Isabella's father. Nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you." "Congratulations. Your daughter is beautiful." "Thank you. And congratulations to you too. Matthew is a good young man." "Thank you." Roberto stayed with me, talking about simple things, the weather, how beautiful the hotel was, how well the ceremony had gone. He was a gentle, educated man. I realized that he also noticed I was alone. "Couldn't your husband come?" he asked me. "I'm a widow. Many years ago." "Oh, I'm sorry. And you raised Matthew alone?" "Yes, since he was 12. Roberto looked at me with respect. "That must have been very difficult." "They were hard years, but good ones. Matthew is the best thing I've done in my life." At that moment, Isabella approached us. She had changed her veil for a crown of flowers and looked radiant. "Dad, did you already meet Matthew's mother?" "Yes, we were talking. She's a very nice lady." Isabella hugged me. "Thank you for coming, Mrs. Elena. It means a lot to me that you're here. Thank you for inviting me." "Have you already greeted Matthew?" "No. I haven't wanted to bother him. He looks very busy." "Come, let's go find him." Isabella took my arm and led me to where Matthew was. He was talking with some work friends. all with champagne glasses in hand, laughing about something. When he saw us approaching, he became serious. Matthew, Isabella told him, "Your mom wants to congratulate you." There was an awkward moment. His friends realized the tension and moved away discreetly. Matthew looked at me without smiling. "Hello, Mom." "Hello, son. Congratulations. You looked very handsome in the ceremony." "Thank you." He didn't hug me. He didn't smile at me. Just a cold and distant thank you. Isabella looked at both of us with a worried expression. "Well, I'm going to greet my aunts. You two talk calmly." And she left, leaving us alone. Matthew and I stood there, not knowing what to say. Around us, the party continued. Music, laughter, conversations, but between us there was only silence. "Matthew," I finally said, "I know you didn't want me to come, but Isabella invited me, and It's done." He interrupted me. "You're already here. There's nothing more to say." Yes, there's a lot to say. We've been months without really talking. I don't understand what happened between us. Mom, this isn't the time or place for this conversation. Then when? When are we going to talk? Because after today you're going on your honeymoon for 3 months. Matthew sighed and ran his hand through his hair. A gesture he'd made since he was a child, when he was nervous. Mom, I need space. You've always been very intense, very present in everything I do, and now that I'm married, I need to build my own life with Isabella. Intense? Matthew, I only worry about you because I love you. I know. But your way of loving me sometimes feels like you don't trust that I can take care of myself. His words hurt me, but I tried to understand them. Son, if I ever made you feel that I didn't trust you, it wasn't my intention. I just wanted to protect you. I know. But I'm not a child anymore, Mom. I'm 30 years old. I'm married. I need you to let me live my life, without always asking me what I'm doing, who I'm with, if I ate, if I'm keeping warm. He was right. Maybe I had been too protective. Maybe I hadn't known how to let go when he grew up. You're right, I admitted. I'm sorry if I overwhelmed you. I didn't realize. Matthew was surprised by my response. I think he expected me to argue with him. Mom. No, it's okay. I understand what you're saying. But Matthew, I raised a wonderful son. You're good, intelligent, hard-working, everything a mother can dream of. If I was too protective, it was because I was afraid of losing you like I lost your father. Matthew's eyes softened a little. Mom, you're not going to lose me. I'm your son. I'll always be your son. Then why do I feel like I've already lost you? Matthew didn't know how to respond. At that moment, Isabella approached with a big smile. It's time for dinner. Everyone to your tables. The dinner was elegant and delicious. I was seated at a table in the back, with some of Matthew's friends I didn't know very well, but who were kind to me. The food was perfect. Lobster, salmon, expensive wines, everything the best my hotel could offer. During dinner, there were speeches. Isabella's father spoke about his love for his daughter and how happy he was to welcome Matthew into the family. The groomsmen told funny stories about the bride and groom. Everyone laughed and applauded. I watched my son from afar. He looked happy, relaxed, in love. Isabella held his hand and whispered things in his ear that made him smile. They were a beautiful couple. After dinner, the dancing began. The orchestra started playing romantic music, and the couples went out to the dance floor. The first dance was for the newlyweds, of course. Matthew and Isabella danced alone, while everyone watched them with tenderness. Afterwards, according to tradition, Isabella danced with her father and Matthew. Matthew stood in the middle of the dance floor, not knowing what to do. He was supposed to dance with me, but I was there as a last-minute guest, not as the groom's mother. I saw Isabella say something in his ear. He shook his head. She insisted. He shook his head again. Finally, Isabella walked to my table. "Mrs. Elena, would you like to dance with Matthew? It's tradition." Everyone at my table turned to look at me. An uncomfortable silence had fallen over the room. People realized something strange was happening. "I don't want to pressure him," I said quietly. "Please, a mother always dances with her son at his wedding." I got up and walked toward the dance floor. Matthew was still standing there, with an annoyed expression. When I reached him, I extended my hand. "Shall we dance?" He hesitated for a moment. Then he sighed and took my hand. The orchestra began playing a slow, beautiful song. Matthew put his hand on my waist, and I put mine on his shoulder, as we had done so many times when he was a teenager, and I taught him to dance in our living room. "Do you remember when I taught you to dance?" I said to him as we moved to the rhythm of the music. "Yes," he replied, without looking me in the eyes. "You were 15, and there was a school party. You were nervous because you didn't know how to dance." I remember. "We put music on in the living room and practiced all afternoon. You stepped on my feet every 2 seconds. Matthew smiled a little. "And you were very patient." "I always had patience for you." We danced in silence for a moment. I tried to memorize that instant. My son's hand in mine, the soft music, the golden lights of the room. Maybe it would be the last time we would dance together. "Matthew," I told him, "I want you to know something." "What?" "That I'm proud of you, of the man you are, of what you've achieved, of the wife you chose. Isabella is a wonderful girl." "Thank you, Mom. And I want you to know that if you need space, I'll give it to you. I'm not going to call you every day or show up at your house without warning, but I want you to know that always, I'll be here if you need me." Matthew looked at me for the first time all night. His green eyes, just like mine, had tears in them. "Mom, don't say anything. Just be happy. That's all I want." The song ended, and we separated. Matthew looked at me for another moment, as if he wanted to say something, but then he walked away toward where Isabella was. I returned to my table feeling a mixture of sadness and peace. I had said what I needed to say. Now I could only wait. The party continued until very late. There was more dancing, more toasts, more laughter. I stayed until the end, watching my son enjoy the most important night of his life. Near midnight, the newlyweds said their goodbyes. They were going to spend their first night as a married couple in the hotel's bridal suite before traveling to the airport in the morning. Matthew said goodbye to everyone with hugs and smiles. He greeted me with a handshake, formally, as if I were just another guest. "Thank you for coming, Mom. Thank you for letting me be here. Have a safe trip home. Have a wonderful honeymoon." And he left. I stood there, watching my son walk away with his wife toward his new life. The guests began to leave too. Soon the room was almost empty. Carmen approached me. "How did you feel, Mrs. Elena?" "Good. Sad, but good. I was able to see my son get married. That was what mattered." "Do you need someone to walk you to your car?" "No, thank you. I'm fine." I left the hotel slowly. The garden was lit by small lights that made everything look magical. It was a beautiful hotel. My hotel. The place where my son had begun his new life. I got to my car and sat for a moment before starting it. I was tired, emotional, confused. It had been an intense night. While driving home, I thought about everything that had happened, about Isabella, who had been more considerate of me than my own son, about the dance with Matthew, which maybe had been our goodbye, about the years to come, when I would have to learn to be just a spectator in my son's life. I arrived home past 1 in the morning. The house felt quieter than ever. I went to my room and took off the blue dress, the elegant shoes, my mother's pearls. I put on my most comfortable robe and sat on the bed. On my nightstand was the photo of Matthew and me at his graduation, both of us smiling, hugging, happy. It was from another time, when he still needed me, when I was the most important thing in his life. I took the photo and hugged it against my chest. At what moment had I lost my son? At what moment had I stopped being his mother to become a burden? The phone rang. It was 2 in the morning. Who could it be? It was a number from the hotel. Hello, Mrs. Castillo? This is the night manager of the Hotel Emperador. I'm sorry to bother you so late. My heart raced. Had something happened to Matthew? What's wrong? Ma'am, we have a situation. Mr. Matthew Castillo, the groom who got married today, is here in the lobby. He says he needs to talk to you urgently. With me? Are you sure? Yes, ma'am. He's very upset. He's asking if we can reach you. Is he okay? Did something happen with Isabella? I don't know, ma'am. I only know he says it's very important to talk to you. My mind raced. What could have happened? Why was Matthew looking for me at 2 in the morning on his wedding night? Tell him I'm coming. I dressed quickly and drove back to the hotel. The trip felt eternal. Had he fought with Isabella? Had he regretted the wedding? Was he sick? I arrived at the hotel and ran to the lobby. There was Matthew, sitting on one of the leather sofas, with his head in his hands. He was no longer wearing the tuxedo. He had on jeans and a wrinkled white shirt. Matthew, what happened? Are you okay? He raised his head, and I saw he had been crying. Mom, what happened, son? Where's Isabella? She's upstairs, sleeping. She doesn't know I came down. Then what? Matthew got up and hugged me. It was a desperate hug, like when he was a child and was afraid. Mom, forgive me. Forgive me for everything. For what, son? What happened? Isabella told me the truth. She told me that you're the owner of this hotel, of all the Castillo hotels. My breath caught. The secret I had kept for so many years had come to light. Matthew, why didn't you ever tell me, Mom? Why did you let me think we barely had money to live on? We sat on the sofa. Matthew kept crying and I didn't know what to say. Son, do you know what I just discovered? That all these years, while I worried about money, while I rejected your help because I thought you couldn't give it to me, while I felt guilty about my education expenses, you were a millionaire. Matthew, I can explain. You can explain, he shouted, then lowered his voice, because we were in public. Do you know how many times I didn't accept your dinner invitations because I thought you didn't have money to pay for expensive restaurants? How many times I rejected gifts from you because I believed you couldn't afford them? It hurt to see him like this. My son, who should be happy on his wedding night, was suffering because of me. Matthew, listen to me. I never told you the truth because I wanted you to love me for who I am, not for my money. And who are you, Mom? Because it turns out I don't know you at all. His words pierced me like knives. I'm your mother. I'm the woman who raised you, who took care of you when you were sick, who worked to give you a good education. Money doesn't change that. Doesn't it change? Do you know what else Isabella told me? That Carmen, the hotel coordinator, told her that the owner of the Castillo hotels is famous for helping poor families, for giving university scholarships, for being generous with everyone except her own son. Matthew, I always wanted to help you. Help me? Mom, you let me work summers to pay for my personal expenses while you had millions in the bank. He was right. I had been unfair to him. I thought it was better for you to learn the value of work. Or did you think it was better to keep me ignorant of who you really are? I didn't know what to answer. Matthew got up and started pacing back and forth. Do you know what's the worst part of all this, Mom? What? that I got married in your hotel, and you were there watching how your ignorant son celebrated his wedding in the empire you built without telling him. Son, did you have fun? Did you have fun watching your ignorant son celebrate his wedding in the empire you built without telling him? It wasn't like that. I exploded. It was never like that. My shout echoed in the empty lobby. Matthew stopped and looked at me with surprise. Then tell me how it was, Mom. Tell me the truth, the whole truth. I took a deep breath. It was time to tell the complete story. When your father died, I was left alone with a 12-year-old boy and no money. I got a job as a receptionist in a small hotel downtown. I earned very little, but it was all I knew how to do. Matthew sat down again, ready to listen. I worked during the day and studied at night. I learned about hotel management, tourism, business, everything to be able to give you a better life. And when did you buy the first hotel? When you were 17. The hotel where I worked was going bankrupt. I asked for a loan, using the house as collateral, and bought it. It was crazy, but it worked out well. And why didn't you ever tell me? Because you were 17, Matthew. You were about to enter university. I didn't want you to feel pressured by your mother's success. I didn't want you to think you had to follow in my footsteps, or that you had to be grateful for life. Matthew stayed quiet for a moment. And afterwards, when I was already an adult, afterwards it was too late. I had already built an image of myself as Elena, the hotel manager who got lucky. Changing that image would have been complicated. Complicated or uncomfortable. Both, I admitted. But above all, I was afraid. Afraid of what? That you would change toward me. That you would see me differently. That our relationship would become weird. Matthew laughed bitterly. Weird? Weirder than it is now? He was right again. Matthew, I know I made a mistake. I should have told you the truth a long time ago. Yes, you should have. We stayed quiet for a moment. In the hotel lobby, only the sound of the air conditioning and the distant traffic from the street could be heard. Mom. Matthew finally said, do you know why I distanced myself from you this past year? Why? Because I felt you were lying to me. I didn't know about what, but I felt there were things you weren't telling me, and that made me distrust you. Son, when I met Isabella, I didn't want to introduce her to you because I was afraid you would be, I don't know, fake with her too, that you would lie to her like you lied to me. His words hurt me, but I understood his point. And what do you think now? Now that you know the truth? Matthew sighed deeply. I don't know, Mom. I'm confused. Angry. Sad. Sad. Yes, because we lost many years. Because we could have had a different relationship if you had trusted me. You're right. And because I realized I don't know you. My own mother is a successful businesswoman, and I had no idea. I got up and sat next to him on the sofa. Matthew, I'm still the same person. I'm still the mother who raised you, who loves you, who worries about you. Money didn't change that. Then why does everything feel so different? Because now you know the whole truth. And the truth sometimes hurts. Matthew looked at me with his green eyes full of tears. Mom, do you forgive me? Forgive you for what? For not inviting you to my wedding, for distancing myself from you, for not trusting you. Son, there's nothing to forgive. You reacted as it was natural to react. No, that's not true. I was a bad son. You gave me everything, and I paid you back with coldness. You're not a bad son, Matthew. You're human. We hugged there on the lobby sofa. For the first time in months, I felt I had my son back. Mom, he told me with his face buried in my shoulder, I want to know you, the real Elena Castillo, the businesswoman, the strong woman who built all this. Really? Yes. And I want you to know Isabella. Really, not as the daughter-in-law your son introduces to you, but as the woman who's going to be part of our family. I would love that. And Mom? Yes? When we get back from our honeymoon, can we start over? Like we're meeting for the first time. I would love that, I repeated. And this time it was completely true. Matthew separated from me and looked at me with a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. Do you know what's the craziest part of all this? What? That I got married in my mom's hotel, without knowing it. What were the odds of that? We laughed together for the first time in months. Do you want me to show you the hotel? I asked him. It's yours too, you know. Someday all this will be yours. Really? You're my only son, Matthew. Who else would it be for? Matthew shook his head, still processing all the information. It's a lot to take in. I know. You don't have to decide anything now. I just want you to know that you'll always be the most important thing in my life, with hotels or without hotels. I know, Mom. And you're also the most important thing in mine. I'm sorry for making you feel otherwise. We hugged again. This time it was a hug of reconciliation, of forgiveness, of love. Matthew, I told him, shouldn't you be upstairs with your wife? Yes, you're right. But first I had to fix things with you. Does Isabella know where you are? I left her a note. I told her I had to resolve something important with my mom. She's a good girl. Yes, she's the best. And she's right about everything she told me about you. What did she tell you? That you're an extraordinary woman, that any son would be proud to have a mother like you, and that I'm a fool for not giving you the place you deserve in my life. I got emotional to tears again. You're not a fool, son. You're just young. You're still learning to live. Well, I want to learn. Will you teach me? Teach you what? To be Elena Castillo's son, the most successful businesswoman in the country. I laughed. First you have to learn to be Isabella Castillo's husband. That's more important. You're right, he said, getting up. I have to go upstairs. My wife must be worried. Go to her. And Matthew. Yes? Be very happy. You both deserve it. Thank you, Mom. I love you. And I love you, son. Always. Matthew gave me one last hug and headed toward the elevators. Before entering, he turned toward me. Mom, when we get back from our honeymoon, are you going to teach me everything? The hotels, the business, everything? Everything you want to know. And can we have dinner together every week? The three of us, Isabella, you and me. I would love that. And are you going to tell me stories about when you built the empire? About the difficult early years? I'm going to tell you everything, son. Matthew smiled and entered the elevator. The doors closed, and I was alone in the lobby. But this time I didn't feel alone. I felt complete. I walked toward the exit, but at the last moment, I decided to take a walk through my hotel which had witnessed my son's wedding and our reconciliation. I went to the room where the wedding had been. The tables with white tablecloths were still there, the flowers that were already beginning to wilt, the empty glasses that had toasted to Matthew and Isabella's love. I sat in the chair where I had been during the ceremony, the chair from where I had watched my son say I do to the woman he loved. I remembered every moment, his face when he saw Isabella enter, his tears during the vows, our awkward conversation during the cocktail hour, our dance full of unspoken words. And now, hours later, everything had changed. My son knew who I really was, and he loved me the same. No, he loved me more. I left the room and walked through the garden where the cocktail hour had been held. The little lights were still on, creating a magical atmosphere. The flowers continued to perfume the air, and the fountain continued to sound softly. This was my hotel, but more importantly, this was the place where I had gotten my son back. I got to my car and sat for a moment before starting it. It was almost 4 in the morning, In a few hours, Matthew and Isabella would take a plane to Europe for their 3-month honeymoon. But I was no longer afraid of that separation, because I knew that when they returned, things would be different, better. I finally knew the answer to the question that had tormented me for months. I hadn't lost my son. I had just had to let him grow. And in his growth, he had found his way back to me. I started the car and drove slowly toward my house. For the first time, in a long time, I wanted to get there. Not because I wanted to hide from the world, but because I wanted to rest to be ready for what was coming. My son would return from his honeymoon, wanting to know the real Elena Castillo, the woman who had built a hotel empire from scratch, the businesswoman who employed hundreds of people, the philanthropist who secretly helped needy families. But above all, the mother who had never stopped loving her son, not even in the most difficult moments. I arrived home when the sky was beginning to lighten on the horizon. It was Sunday morning. In a few hours, the sun would rise completely, and it would be a new day. A new day when I wouldn't have to keep secrets. A new day when my son would know exactly who his mother was. A new day when we could start over. I stood at the entrance of my house, looking toward the garden, where the roses I had planted with Matthew so many years ago had bloomed. The roses were still there, beautiful and strong, despite the time that had passed. Like our mother and son love. I entered the house and went straight to my room. I took off my clothes and put on my most comfortable pajamas. Then I sat on the bed and took the photo of Matthew and me at his graduation. That photo no longer made me sad. It gave me hope, because I knew we would soon have new photos together. Photos where he would know the whole truth about me. Photos where I would know the whole truth about him and about Isabella. Photos of a real family, complete, without secrets. I put the photo back in its place and lay down. For the first time in months, I fell asleep immediately. And I dreamed of the future, of family dinners at my house, of Isabella helping me cook, of Matthew telling me about his work, of grandchildren who would someday run through the garden, where the roses that their grandfather and I had planted with so much love grew. I dreamed of a united family, as it should be, as it was going to be. The phone woke me 3 hours later. It was Matthew. "Good morning, Mom. Did I wake you?" "It doesn't matter, son. How did you wake up?" "Very well. Isabella sends her regards, and she wants you to know she's excited to meet her millionaire mother-in-law when we get back." I laughed. "Tell her I'm excited to meet my traveling daughter-in-law." "I'll tell her." "Mom, we're already leaving for the airport. Do you have everything?" "Yes." "And Mom?" "Yes." "Thank you for last night, for everything, for being my mom, for forgiving me, for not giving up on me." "I'll never give up on you, Matthew. You're my son. And you're my mom, the best mom in the world. Have a safe trip, son, and take good care of Isabella. I'm going to take care of her, and when we get back, we're going to take care of you, both of us. I love you both, and we love you. See you soon, Mom. See you soon." I hung up the phone and stretched in bed. Outside, the sun was shining completely. It was a beautiful day. I got up, bathed and dressed in comfortable clothes. Then I went down to the kitchen and prepared a complete breakfast. Eggs, bacon, orange juice, coffee. I hadn't had an appetite in months. Now I was hungry for everything. Food, life, future. While I was having breakfast, the phone rang again. It was Miguel. "Elena, how are you? How was the wedding?" "Miguel, I have a lot to tell you." "What happened?" "Matthew knows the truth. He knows about the hotels." "What? How?" "It's a long story. Do you want to come for lunch? I'll tell you everything." "Are you really okay? Your voice sounds different." "I'm more than okay, Miguel. I'm happy. I'm coming. I spent the rest of the morning cleaning the house, preparing lunch and thinking about everything that had happened. My life had completely changed in 24 hours. Yesterday morning, I was Elena Castillo, the rejected mother who couldn't go to her son's wedding. Today I was Elena Castillo, the successful businesswoman whose son was proud of her. Yesterday I was afraid of the future. Today I couldn't wait to see what was coming. Miguel arrived at noon with a bottle of wine and a curious smile. "Well, tell me everything, and don't skip any details." I told him the whole story. The wedding, the dance with Matthew, the call from the hotel, the reconciliation in the lobby. Miguel listened with wide eyes, interrupting me only to ask questions or express surprise. "I can't believe Isabella did that," he said when I finished. "Inviting you to the wedding despite Matthew not wanting you there. She's a special girl. Matthew was lucky to find her. And you were lucky that she found you." "Yes, I think so." Miguel raised his wine glass. "I toast to Elena Castillo, to the strongest, most intelligent, and most generous woman I know. And finally, to the happiest woman. I toast to second chances," I said, raising my glass. "To sons who return, and to mothers who never give up." We clinked our glasses and toasted to the future. In the afternoon, after Miguel left, I sat in my office in front of the computer. For the first time in months, the numbers on the screen didn't seem like just numbers to me. They seemed like possibilities. Possibilities of teaching my son the business I had built for him. Possibilities of involving Isabella in the philanthropic projects that mattered so much to me. Possibilities of building not just a family business, but a true family. I opened a new document and began writing a letter for Matthew and Isabella. A letter I would give them when they returned from their honeymoon. A letter that would tell them my whole story. The difficult years after their father's death. The sacrifices I had made to get ahead. The dreams I had had to postpone. The difficult decisions I had had to make. But also the moments of happiness when I bought my first hotel. When I saw the business start to work. When I could give Matthew the education he deserved. When I realized I had built something I could be proud of. I wrote for hours, remembering every detail, reliving every emotion. It was the first time I told my complete story, without omitting anything, without changing anything to protect anyone's feelings. It was liberating. When I finished the letter, it was almost 8 at night. Outside it was already dark, but the house felt less empty than before. It felt full of possibilities. I got up from my desk and walked to the window that looked out onto the garden. The roses could no longer be seen, but I knew they were there, in the darkness, growing slowly, preparing to bloom again in spring. Like me, like my relationship with my son, like our family. The phone rang again. This time it was an international number. It was Matthew, from the Paris airport. "Mom, we've arrived. The flight was very good." "How nice, son. How does Isabella feel?" "Excited. She says she's never been out of the country. It's going to be a wonderful experience for both of you." "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Are you really not angry with me? For lying to you for so long about Isabella? For distancing myself from you? For the wedding?" "Matthew, listen to me carefully. I'm not angry. I'm proud." "Proud?" "Yes. Proud that you had the courage to look for me last night to fix things. Proud that you married a woman who defends me even though she doesn't know me. Proud of the man you've become." There was silence on the other side of the line. "Mom, I love you so much. And I love you, son. Enjoy your honeymoon. And when you return, we're going to start our new life together. The three of us. Promise? Promise." After hanging up, I stood by the window for a long time. Tomorrow would be Monday. I would have to go to the office, review reports, make business decisions. I would be Elena Castillo again, the president of Castillo Luxury Hotels. But I wouldn't have to hide that part of me anymore. I wouldn't have to pretend I was just Elena the mom. For the first time in years, I could be completely myself. I went to the kitchen and prepared a light dinner. While I ate, I thought about the next 3 months. They would be long, waiting for Matthew and Isabella's return. But this time, the wait would be different. This time, I would be waiting for a reunion, not fearing a goodbye. After dinner, I went upstairs to my room and went to bed early. Tomorrow would begin a new stage of my life, a stage without secrets, without fears, without pain. A stage where I could finally be the woman I had always been, Elena Castillo. Mother, businesswoman, philanthropist, and for the first time in a long time, happy woman. Before falling asleep, I looked once more at the photo of Matthew and me at his graduation. Soon we would have new photos, better photos. Photos where we wouldn't have to pretend to be people we weren't. Photos where we could simply be ourselves, mother and son, united by love and truth. I closed my eyes and fell asleep, with a smile on my lips. For the first time in months, I didn't have nightmares. Only beautiful dreams about the future that awaited us.